All right, let's call the meeting. Let's call the meeting to order at 6:02. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Aaron Moran,
Here.
Chris Zellner,
Here.
Joe Zisselsberger,
Here.
Kristen Runge,
Here.
Nyla Fry,
Here.
Jack Heineman,
Here.
Sam Kaufman.
Here.
Next item on the agenda is confirmation of open meeting compliance.
I can confirm that the drafted agenda was published in the Waunakee Tribune on 7/18. The final agenda was posted in all 3 official posting locations on 7/17. And the final agenda and packet were made available online on 7/17. For those in the audience, please be sure you've signed in for accurate record keeping with your name, address, and municipality. And if there's any public comment cards, we would take those now prior to public comment.
All right, and do we have any public comments? Those making public comments, we always keep it to 3 minutes.
I have no forms.
No forms. Do we have anyone online who would like to make a public comment? If you're online and would like to comment, please raise your hand and we'll bring you into the meeting.
Just
No
give me a
hands?
second. No hands raised.
All right, then next up is the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they would like to have pulled from the consent agenda? Yes, Nyla.
I would like item number 7 pulled from the agenda.
Right. Anything else?
Move
Seeing-
approval 1 through 6. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, Nyla.
Okay, I just have a question, and I don't know how it would be, if there were issues, how would it affect a grant proposal? But is there any remediation, environmental remediation that could possibly need to be done on that site?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I just wanted to ask the question. Okay, thank you. So then I will move to approve item number 7 on the consent agenda.
Second. All right, any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Abstain.
Oh, thank you. Next up then is reports and announcements. Item number 1 under that, Community Development Authority will be meeting in August. We did not meet in July. EMS Commission.
Our third ambulance is just about ready. Scott's going to be going down in August to inspect that before it goes to the dealer before the final clearance. So the hope is end of September to have that service. And due to the growth and size of Waunakee, it's likely going to require its own dedicated ambulance next year, which will come at a cost to the event.
All right. All right. We're going to skip to Waunakee Committee. Surprise.
Oh, that's fine. So we had a marathon 4-hour meeting the other night, going over this year's event as well as potential of next year's event. And it's grown in size, as everybody here hopefully knows. And there's things that we are addressing, from safety to just overall how people are interacting throughout the park, and then adding different things versus subtracting things, and just looking at how we can make the event a better event. And when I say that, I believe that we've already attained that we've attained a very high level for the event already, and we hope to continue doing that. I will say that to the committee members that are there, that just says right there, a 4-hour meeting to go over how the event went, to sit through the 37 pages of notes that occurred during the event, to make it the best event we can possible for the community. So that's really it for right now.
Thank you. Next up, Library Board.
Yeah, the budget request for this year is going to be for an additional library assistant position at approximately 20 to 22 hours a week. We really just need more bodies in that building because of the increased customer traffic that we're having there. And we also, our new website, we have a new website that's going to be launched next month.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Finance Committee.
So we just had our finance committee, just ended at about 1 minute to 6. The first 2 items that we took up tonight, we've already approved in our consent agenda, which was the capital asset policy and purchasing policies that we did. We had great discussion on some potentials that we could look at with the budget policies. Baker Tilly provided us their audit presentation of where our finances are, and budget is in very good shape. They had some recommendations for us that we can always be better in some areas. And then we approved the calendar.
All right. Thank you. Plan Commission.
We started off with a presentation from Hayday for a potential development just north of Easy Street and east of Madison Street, I believe, if I remember correctly. We'll have another presentation at this level, I believe, probably at the next meeting, depending on exactly when that gets scheduled. We talked about utility easements and in particular, putting fences, the ability to put fences in those utility easements. That did pass and will come to this body at another point. We talked about 606 Reeve Drive and approved that. And that was the item that Nyla had pulled from the consent agenda. So that's all good. We talked about a driveway on Quinn Drive, having to move that. That was approved. And let's see, we talked about an ordinance amendment for a propane fill tank for Ace Hardware. And we talked about rezoning a couple of properties in the town of Westport, and we deferred on that.
All right. Thank you very much. Lauren, did we have a joint plan commission meeting?
That meeting was canceled.
Right. Any other committees, boards, or commissions? Any other announcements? Yes.
I just want to say, since the fire is here, Public Works people from Waunakee, they were amazing again this year and what they all do. So I'd like to thank them while they're here.
Yes, Nyla.
The comprehensive plan survey is out, so please take it.
Right. Any others? Go ahead.
Lauren, the booth at Waunakee that we had, how many respondents did we have?
That was for the sustainability plan, and they had, I think, over 300 people visit the booth, which is awesome. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Wow.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for the reports and for all of the work that's done to get us to this point. Next up then is presentations. And our first item on the agenda is a presentation by representatives from Waunakee Neighborhood Connection and Waunakee Food Pantry regarding housing needs. So with that.
Green button.
Make it green. There it is. Okay. Well, good evening, members of the village board, village staff, and community partners. My name is Veronica Castillo, and I serve as the proud leader, advocate, and executive director of Waunakee Neighborhood Connection. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. Waunakee Neighborhood Connection is a nonprofit organization that provides basic needs, support, case management, and community resources for individuals and families in Waunakee. Our mission is to ensure that all residents, regardless of income, have the opportunity to thrive and remain connected to the community that they all call home. Tonight, I'm joined by my case manager, Lidia Silva Rios, who will be presenting an overview of the increasing housing-related needs we're seeing among Waunakee residents, particularly renters and community members facing growing financial hardship. The data we're sharing reflects the first half of 2025 and highlights trends that are both urgent and deeply personal. Lydia will walk you through the number of requests, what we've received for rent and housing assistance, the limitations of our current funding, and real-life stories behind those numbers. Stories of family, seniors, and longtime residents who are struggling to remain in our community. In addition, the Waunakee Ecumenical Board will also be sharing data they've collected through our own direct service and work. Together, these two reports provide a more comprehensive view of the needs among our vulnerable neighbors and underscore the importance of coordinated community-wide solutions. Our shared goal tonight is to present not only the challenges, but also a starting point for collaborative action, whether that be through partnerships, expanded funding with support of the village, or long-term housing solutions that ensure everyone in Waunakee has the opportunity to live safely and with dignity. Thank you again for your time and leadership. I'll hand it over now to Lydia for her presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Veronica. My name is Lidia Silva Rios, and I'm the Community Resource Manager at Waunakee Neighborhood Connection. Since the start of 2025, we've seen a steady rise of requests for housing and financial support from our community members who are not homeowners. This includes renters, single parents, seniors, and families experiencing emergencies. Each week, WNC received 1 to 2 phone calls, 3 to 4 emails, and all of them have something in common. And it is that they're asking about our neighbor to neighbor program. They're asking about emergency rental support, or can you help me or connect me with other housing assistance resources? Between January and June, we received 27 neighbor-to-neighbor applications. Of these 27, 13 of them were first-time applicants, meaning they have never applied for the neighbor-to-neighbor funds before. The remaining 14 were returning applicants who had received support in the past but were eligible to receive funds this year again. Altogether, these applicants requested $32,010 in rent assistance. Fortunately, due to the limitation in funding, WNC is only able to provide $500 a month. So we were only able to support 6 community members from January to June with a total of $3,000. That means the need outweighed our resources by more than 10 to 1. Behind those numbers that I just shared are real people with real challenges. I can briefly tell you about a single father who's navigating divorce, trying to raise a 15-year-old daughter, starting a new job, and trying to secure housing. A mother of 2 boys who's recovering from postpartum depression after losing her partner. She returned to work shortly or 6 weeks after she had her baby, just so that she could pay rent. Or a family of 4 who received an eviction notice in June. The mother works 2 jobs. She's a nurse, but her husband was laid off and they owe $3,000 back in rent. Or summer, right? One of the applications that I recently received of a mother of a neurodivergent child who she had to reduce her hours during the summer because her daughter can only go to summer school for 3 hours and she has to adjust her schedule so she can no longer make rent. Or an elderly woman who is recovering from major surgery and had unexpected bills, right? So she is now overwhelmed by needing to make enough to pay those bills. These are not isolated cases. We hear stories like these ones every week. WNC also has other challenges, like knowing that even if we receive 9 to 11 applications, we're only able to support 1 household a month. And knowing that local rent continues to rise as we see a 2-bedroom rent average from $1,300 to $1,700 a month. We are very lucky, and in extreme cases, we are partnered with a local anonymous group that takes WNC referrals, and their support is there, but it's limited as they don't only or not only receive referrals through WNC, they also get referrals through social workers and other places. So their support is not always guaranteed. WNC is aware that there are programs, just as an example, like Waunakee Homeowner Betterment Fund for homeowners, but no renters, or there's no support for renters such as that program. Please do know that WNC remains deeply committed to collecting and sharing the realities our neighbors face. We will continue partnering with local organizations, advocating for expanded rental assistance, and pushing for long-term solutions. But most of all, we will keep uplifting the voices of Waunakee residents who contribute to this community every day and simply want to stay in the place they call home. I appreciate your time and giving us the space to share these, and I will let Jennifer and Natalie take it away.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Kusha. I'm the president of the Waunakee Ecumenical Board, and this is our treasurer, Natalie
Hello.
Dresen. The Waunakee Ecumenical Board has been around for 50 years. Our main mission is the Waunakee Food Pantry, among other things, but our second most important mission is providing financial support for people who need it for their utilities as well as their rent. So we've been doing this a very long time. The numbers are obviously going up, up, up. The stories that Lydia told you, it's just multiplied. You know, we have just as many and so many people, it can just be one, their son broke their arm, done. They don't have adequate health insurance and they can't make their rent. So many people are going back for second and third jobs in order to try and make their rent. We also only provide assistance for $500 per request per year. And when somebody owes $2,300, $500 seems like nothing, but it is helping the families. It is helping our landlords in town as well. The utility company works with us very nicely. We can call them and say, please don't shut their electricity off. We promise we'll get you a check soon. The people in Waunakee are wonderful, but there simply is not enough money to go around. We are touchstones that you're aware of, but there's also the Lions Club is giving money. St. Vincent de Paul Conference in Waunakee is giving money. A place called Lake Mendota Yacht Club fills in with money. And like I said, we were thinking of actually 2 years ago, we were thinking, you know, this isn't really going very far. Let's increase to $750 helping once a year. And quickly with the economy and COVID and all that, we just thought, oh, we better stay back. And we are very glad we did because we have increased and we're looking at what, $27,000 to $30,000 this year we'll be putting out for rent for people. And we also do help a lot with utilities to keep people's electricity on and so forth. But do you have anything to add?
Just, in looking at the spreadsheet here, you can see the change from 2021, 2025, we're on track. I mean, if this is only half the year, which it is, you know, we could be potentially at 26,000 dispersed this year. We are getting closer and closer to always distributing $500 per request. Usually if we're talking rent assistance, that's always going to be a $500 assistance. Utilities can be less. So that's where we're kind of getting closer to that, approaching that number. They almost have to be considered in two different buckets because Waunakee Utilities Assistance or Utilities Assistance is not typically as large as a rent assistance request. And we have continued to see the numbers increasing 2021 with COVID, and it's been steadily increasing since there.
The one thing that we are very grateful for is because our organization is a little bit smaller and we've been doing it for a very long time. We do have, our goal is to meet these needs within 24 to 48 hours. And most oftentimes we're able to do that because we have a smaller leadership team, and we also are blessed to work with our social workers in town, joining forces for family, vet these families for us. They give us extremely detailed accounts of what is going on in the home, why they need it, and so forth. So it's very easy for us to say yes. We send it around to the board. We have alternates at all times so that we can get these requests through quickly. But that's been a real blessing for the people of Waunakee. And we thank you very much for your time and your consideration on helping us solve these problems for our friends and neighbors.
I want to thank you all for the work that you do, for the organizations that you're running and the role that they play in the community and the people they serve. It's incredibly important. And I know this is both probably a labor of love, but also a significant chunk of work that you guys do day to day to help our community. So with that, if it's all right, I'd like to open it up to the board for questions. So should we go in order, or do we just want to go ad hoc? Jack, you look like you have a question. Should we start with you?
I guess it's green. Thank you. My question is you give these people $500, is that a month or is it one time?
One time a year.
And for us, it's, we can only provide $500 one time a year to one community member, one time a month. So we can technically only help 12 people a year with $500.
So if they're having, do they generally, if you give them these $500, does that help them get out of their situation, or do they need more resources? How are they sustainable?
Well, I mean, part of it is we're really just using, the $500 we provide is just a Band-Aid, really. So part of it is the $500 for, and if we can get them to partner with the pantry, then we can get them that $1,000, and they're maybe $200 or $300 away from making the bill. So maybe we can find that or match it or work with the landlord to see if we can support them in another way. But really the $500, if it doesn't go to rent, it'll offset something else. So we've heard pantry talk about offsetting utility bills, or they broke an arm, it can help pay for a bill, another bill. So it's really just a Band-Aid. I mean, you're hitting it right on the notes. It's just a Band-Aid. But what we do with case management with us is not only do we get the application like everyone does and it's vetted, but then we sit with them for about an hour for an intake and go, okay, what else do you need? What other bills do you have? How else can we help solve these other problems financially to get you to be able to breathe? I've been taking community members to eviction meetings, to the tenant resource center monthly, multiple times a month, because they're just not able to pay those rents. So it's just a Band-Aid, and then we help them how we can.
Are you tying them to other resources as well? Are you teaming?
Yeah, so not only, we're not just giving away the money, we provide them resources to the tenant resource center or other financial supports, other housing supports. There's not much out there. Right now, there's a $1,000 fund if you don't live in Madison and you live in Dane County, but it's first come, first serve, and you have to show up to the office on Park Street at a certain time. So unless you have a car, don't have to work, etc., you can get that money. So we do connect them to a multitude of resources if we're not able to support them, but sometimes those resources are also tapped out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
And sometimes the rent money, the $500 will be for somebody who's been homeless and they have finally secured housing in Waunakee, and we're able to help with a bit of the security deposit, things like that. Once in a while, we'll help with car repair. But they're all so interrelated because they can't pay their rent unless they pay the car, they can't get to work unless they have the car. So you can see it's just a domino effect.
Thank you. Sam?
We have a lot of folks that watch these meetings and the newspaper goes over it. Can you remind people, if they'd like to give money to these things, how they would do that?
Yeah, so for Waunakee Neighborhood Connection, if people want to support with the Neighbor to Neighbor Fund, we have a QR code. You can go on our website, fill out the form, and literally designate that fund to Neighbor, and it is used for this specifically. Last year, I've been in here for a year as the executive director. We were providing everything they asked for before I arrived. So we ran out of money May of 2024 last year. So when I came on, we had nothing. So we couldn't help any community member up until February of this year. So that's how quickly we ran out of funds. So if people want to donate to that specific fund, they can. And that's Neighbor to Neighbor for us. Jennifer? Go ahead.
And for the Waunakee Ecumenical Board and Food Pantry, if you visit, community members want to visit our website, and that would be just WaunakeeFoodPantry.org. You can find a donate button there. And additionally, if you'd rather not use the donate button all of our information for mailing addresses in there as well.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Do you mind if I go around first, Jack? Erin?
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for presenting and everything you do. Also the emotional labor behind a lot of this work. That's definitely a heavy space to be present for these people in our community and our neighbors. I think we talk a lot about on this board and in the village and just in other areas, like we love how unique Waunakee is, but these situations are not, or these problems are not unique to our community. But we're really fortunate to have champions of our community like you all, some of our social first responders, you could say. I mean, we have some here. So it's just, I have chills thinking of how blessed we are for that. Sorry, I'm getting choked up. I have a question on the $500 from the Food Pantry Ecumenical Board. Does the 500 include rent and utilities? So is that usually?
Well, it'll come to us and they'll say
Yeah.
what they owe for everything, and generally we'll just pick one, put this $500 towards
Where-
rent, and
okay.
those checks are not delivered to the person.
Okay.
They are always delivered to a landlord, to the utility service,
Yeah.
things like that.
Are there programs that you've seen other municipalities support that you think might work well in Waunakee, or different ways that you've seen a body like ours be able to support that you think?
As of right now, I don't know of any. There was conversation of possibly an endowment somewhere in another village within Wisconsin, but I'm not sure. But yeah, no, this would be probably a new venture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Erin?
Mm.
No, thank you. Chris?
Thank you for all the work you're doing. I mean, I know it's hard. Everything is hard within this. It's hard for us sitting up here as well, to hear the stories. We want to have those options. Mine is kind of a tack on to Jack's question. And you say it's a Band-Aid. What happens after the Band-Aid?
It's a hard question to answer. I mean, I remember I was at one and someone asked, how do you graduate from your program? You don't graduate from life, really, right? And so part of it is it's a Band-Aid, but they keep coming back because we're providing them with other resources. So even though we provide their landlord with the check, we're still providing them maybe with a utility check next month, or we're providing them with another free resource of daycare, or we also know that if they have a UW bill and don't have insurance, who we can connect with financial support. So there is always a slew of resources we provide. We just don't stop there. It's a continuum. So in us really, and I think, I don't want to speak for Lydia, but really it's what can we provide in the moment to breathe you some breathing room and some solace, so then we can look at the next thing that you have on your list and help you tackle that. This is the Band-Aid that is not only financial, but emotional, to keep them going and keep us providing that support.
So if you were to say you're digging deep to help, what would you say for us, what we could do as a village board to help?
I just wanted to make one quick comment about the other question, was just that, like in our case, we always make sure that a family is aware of and is encouraged to use the Waunakee Food Pantry so that they can shift some of the money that they have in their monthly income from buying food, save that for their rent, and then they can always visit the food pantry each week. So we always encourage families in that respect too.
And anyone that we're paying an electric bill to, we also inquire if they're on energy assistance, and then our social workers will help them sign up for that as well, because that's something they have to do on their own.
I guess to answer how you all can help, part of it is so you guys are aware. I mean, in the last year that I've been here, I think the 20% of population here of Waunakee that use our services are not spoken about enough. They're not visible, so people don't think they even exist. So I think part of what you guys can help us is really open that conversation of how we can support our most vulnerable populations right now and really in the future, because it's only, to be real, it's only probably going to get worse for them economically. So my hope and our hope really is if the village can look up some other funding that you guys bring in, is there anything else that you guys can support in keeping them out of eviction? But also keeping in mind that we're not just handing these checks out and their rent is paid, but really, hey, your rent's paid now, how we can keep you on that path. But really, we're here to see if the village can help keep some of these people in their homes by a financial backing.
Thank you.
Joe?
I'll just sort of echo what Chris said. I thank you for everything that you do. I know that this is not easy. I'm confident that you go home on, probably a daily basis with all of that stuff still running in your head. And it's absolutely not easy, but it is incredibly appreciated. The other thing that I wanted to say is that you were talking about other resources, and at least in my life, that's been one of the most beneficial things that I've had, is just knowing who do you talk to about this, that, or the other thing. So the fact that you can provide that in addition to whatever funding might be needed is fantastic. So thank you.
Nyla?
I too would like to thank all of you for all the hard work that you do. And I'd also like to share a little story. In 1977, my first Christmas here with my husband, we were thrilled to be able to move to Waunakee and purchase our home. So we looked for a family that we could provide whatever for Christmas. And we called the ecumenical board, and they looked for us and did not find anyone. So they contacted the school and they found a family that we could benefit from whatever we could provide them. And we went to see them, et cetera, et cetera. But that tells you not only how Waunakee has changed from 1977 to now. It's not just Waunakee, it's the state, it's the nation, and probably the world. And part of taking care of any issue is understanding, actually, and I don't understand it fully, but understanding what the problems are. A low-income person may be getting on their feet and then something happens, their car breaks down. They're working two or three jobs and then they get a broken arm. Until we've been there ourselves, many of us have no idea. We don't even know what it's like not to have a soft bed to sleep on at night. And I woke up this morning thinking about that, about how fortunate I am to wake up in my nice comfy bed. I just want to say this, I think number one, realizing that the groups are out there. And number two, educating the public so they have a full understanding that many of these families are in the positions that they are perhaps because of medical expenses, because of losing a job that they've had for years, et cetera, et cetera. And I hope that somehow through education and understanding, we can find ways to find a little bit of help.
Thank you, Nyla. Jack? No follow-up questions?
No.
All right. Thank you all so much. We talked about this earlier in the summer when you came to bring this to our attention. I would like to, Todd, I think I'm probably going to direct this at you and Lauren. Could we task the CDA with looking into programs that are maybe have been established by other municipalities or ways that we could be methodical in helping? Okay.
Yep, certainly.
Okay. The Community Development Authority is the committee that's charged with providing housing assistance amongst others. We do have some money from TIF and TID that we have collected that has been designated to support housing for our residents, so for affordable housing. I'm not sure what programs we'll find, but I feel like this is important enough that we really probably do want to take a more serious look at how to help. Yeah. Do we have any other comments from anyone on the board? No questions? All right. Thank you guys so much for
Thank
being here
you very
tonight. We
much.
really appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Next item on the agenda then is a presentation by Finance Director introducing the 2025 Digital Budget Book.
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to bring this up. We'll see. Here we go. So we've had a product called ClearGov for a little while. And for about the past year, we've made a big push to utilize it fully and be able to launch something on our website that is more transparent for our taxpayers in terms of the budget. And so once Kaylin, our communications person, started, was when we were really able to have a team, which mostly consisted of myself and Julie from finance also, and then Kaylin to kind of add the flair to the document and make it pretty. And Todd has provided input. And so at this point, even though we're halfway through the year, we are going to launch our 2025 budget book. Probably next week when Kaylin gets back from vacation, but it'll be on our website. She'll push it out through social media. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick preview. And knowing that, again, we're going to put the 2025 one out there now. But, you know, as you hear feedback or have feedback yourself, you know, feel free to pass that along to me and we'll work through that for our 2026 version, which then we hope to, you know, be able to launch much more timely after the budget's adopted. But like I said, we've been working on it and we're finally feel like it's in a good place to launch. So this, I believe, is what it'll look like when it's on our website. Somebody would click on the link and come up, and it's basically on the left side, there's a table of contents. So they can jump to different things, or they can just scroll through it as well on the bottom. But we have all kinds of information about the budgeting process and our policies, and they can just kind of work their way down. We have a nice thing. So again, this was the 2025 budget. So these were the elected officials who adopted this budget. We'll have to get another fun picture of you guys for our 2026 budget. But it goes through, you know, our structure, some history of the village. And then, you know, we've added some, just lots of different information on the mill rate, you know, how is the tax bill distributed, you know, where does the money go? And then for those such as myself who like the numbers part of things, you know, people can dig into the details of the general fund, but it's a little more interactive with, you know, some graphs and charts instead of just, you know, looking at a bunch of numbers. You can see more. All the funds are listed. And then the really cool part, which Kaylin had the most to do with, is the departmental section. And I'll just jump to a couple of them, like community development. So there's a lot of information on, you know, the types of housing. There's statistics people can play around with. This will all be you know, as interactive as the data allows, but lots of fun information. You check out like the library and there's, you know, the number of visits and a lot of stats there, a lot of pictures, you know, police department, you know, kind of showing what all the departments do and some statistics that the community members might be interested in. So we have that for all the departments. And we did a 5-year look back. So it'll be easier this year because we'll only have to add one more year's worth of data. We won't have to go back and find all that data. So again, just kind of wanted to give you a preview so you could see what's going to be launched. Happy to take any questions about this process and things, and welcome your feedback after you have time to dive in, and we'll get those things considered for the 2026 budget.
All right. Thank you very much, Renee. This is really neat. Yeah. Do we have comments? Todd?
I will just say that a 5-minute presentation comes nowhere near reflecting the amount of work and effort that's gone in on a part of the village team to bring this together. Obviously, you referenced transparency and the availability of this information to the public. I also want to say that this is a tool for you as decision makers that you can use on the fly in any given board meeting or reviewing any given memo. If you want to reference that to the budgetary action that led us down that path, you've got this, when in the past you had just numbers on a big old chart. And that's been difficult to search and wade your way through. So we hope this is an effective tool for decision-making for you and your committees also. So kudos to the finance team and Kaylin on a really big piece of work here.
Absolutely. It's impressive. Do we have comments? Anyone? Other than thank you? And this is amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep, looking forward to launching that. So thank you.
Excellent. All right, thank you very much again. So up to business item number 1 then, discuss and take action on proposal from McMahon Associates Incorporated for Fire Management Council. You want to take this?
Yep,
away,
I can
John?
introduce it for you. Want to give most of the time for the consultant, Robert Whitaker, who provided the proposal, to explain it to you and explain the scope of services and address whatever questions you might have. If you recall, and this starts on page 86 of your packet. On page 87 is a resolution that this board passed in February of this year and the title of that resolution was Notice to Withdraw from the Waunakee Area Fire District and the Waunakee Area Fire Protection Operating Agreement. This came on the heels of an operational study that Robert Whitaker and the McMahon and Associates group completed at the village's request, an operational assessment with a variety of recommendations, and one of which being as a potential step to sort of move things along was put notice out there for withdrawing from the district for a variety of reasons. To be clear, the notice to withdraw doesn't force your hand to withdraw. Instead, it starts a process. And that process, I believe, lasts 18 months. And if it plays out per the language in the agreement, January 1 of 2027 is when, based on this notice, potentially the village could have withdrawn and formed its own department, which the village board also passed a simultaneous resolution to do. That's to create its own department. Now, there are a lot of steps in the process, and Nyla and Kristen, who represent the village board on the fire commission, have inquired with me about, okay, we've passed the resolution, what's next? I did connect with Brian. We reviewed the steps to be taken, and I think neither from an administrative staff and level of expertise or legal expertise do we have the ability to facilitate walking through all the steps required to move through the process called out for in the resolution. So what I did was asked Robert Whitaker, okay, what would it take for a third party to be a participant and come alongside of us to help us wade through the steps that are involved? And perhaps Robert or maybe even Brian could talk about some of the steps in relation to our operational agreement that would have to be taken all the way up to withdraw. So the proposals in your packet, that starts at page 92. I did, at the moment that this went out to you in your packet, I also provided a copy to Chief McWilliams. He has a copy of that, and I believe he provided it to members of the team there, so they're aware of it as well. Happy to answer any administrative level questions, but I think at this point, if you're okay with it, I'd like to invite Robert Whitaker to join us and sort of do a Cliff Notes introduction to the proposal as you have it.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good to be with you again this evening. So as Todd said, the proposals in your packet, we broke it down into 3 phases of proposed work everything in the proposal is based on an hourly charge back to you. It's not a total, here's this pot of money and we're gonna, this is what you pay. This is based on how much work is put into it, because as Todd said, some village staff may assist or we may need their assistance. So there's 3 phases. One of the most important things I want to clarify here tonight too is this is not about starting a full-time fire department. This is about transitioning the department that's there over to the village as a village department with the current primarily volunteer paid on call workforce there. And that's as the report that we McMahon put together and presented to you last year, the vision was to maintain that workforce as long as possible. It's an effective method to provide service. It meets your current needs. In the future, and we're talking 5 to 10 years down the road, that may transition to a need for a more full-time staff. But currently that the method and the model you use to provide service with a primarily volunteer paid on call workforce works well. So this scope would start with a step to follow the agreement that you're in with the other municipalities, where equipment needs to be valued. There needs to be an exchange of assets and value for that equipment. Assist with the village with identifying obligations or liabilities you may have, and then provide recommendations to the village on other issues that relate to just how to transition the workforce or have a process for the firefighters to potentially apply as a village department, and then communicate to the public. And then the state of Wisconsin's a player in this because as a fire department, you're a deputy, or the fire chief's considered a deputy agent of the state for purposes of code enforcement and other reporting processes. So we would need to transition that over. So step 2 would be work with the village on changing your ordinances, transitioning from a police commission to a police and fire commission, updating personnel manual, things like that. And then finally, the 3rd step would actually be the actual transition, turning over of the department from the district to the village, and working with the asset change, record keeping. There's things that need to be managed as far as incident reporting, fire inspections, and making sure you're up to speed with that. So with that, and like I said, the proposal is an hourly based proposal. The cost estimate per month in there is anywhere from 8 hours a week to I think 15 or 16. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have that at all time every week, but that's just an estimate based on other previous projects we've done in the past of similar type of work. So I'd be more than happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Robert. One of the things that we talked about in putting this proposal together, Todd and I and Nyla and I, is that our goal is to do right by our volunteer firefighters as we make this transition. You have been the reason that the firefighting force has been as successful as it has been over the years, and you're such an important part of the community that your needs and your concerns are going to be part of this process. And while we're doing that, we're also ensuring the continued safety of the community, as you guys have done for generations now. So hopefully this process gets us there. When we were talking about the need for hiring a consultant, as you mentioned, Todd, none of us have done this before. We want to make sure that we get it right and that it's as smooth and peaceful as possible with that.
Yeah, if I could add on
Yeah.
in terms of the consultant choice here, I do want to be clear. The village board certainly has the ability, if it wishes, to seek multiple proposals from multiple firms. I will say the decision to get a sense for what this might take from a firm, I chose to follow up with McMahon again, because of what I perceived as a generally favorable opinion of the village board related to the work that they did for the operational assessment last year. My sense from the board, what I took away was that you were very positive on the work they did. So that's why I asked this of McMahon to present this. It doesn't mean that you can't ask for multiple proposals from other firms. This is a starting point and gives us a sense for it. we can proceed this way. We can get proposals either way, whatever your preference might be.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Todd. And Brian, you leaned forward. Did you have something you wanted to add? No? No. All right. So with that, let's open it up for questions. And Erin, can I call on you first?
Yeah, thank you for putting this together. I think my only question, this is really thorough and I appreciated the layout and the structure with the phases. I think it's pretty clear what the goal is here and as smooth as this process could be, there are so many parts. So for us to do our part, making sure that everyone is included and taken care of and voices are being heard. I think I will just propose that maybe we cap, like, it says each phases could take approximately 3 months. And with the cost estimate per month on the higher end, if we just, what the max of what that proposed, we would just say in the motion, maybe like capping it at, that's just over 25,000, something like that. So that this board or any future iterations of this board are still involved with the commitment to this firm. And since we are not necessarily going out for proposals.
Or is your suggestion, Aaron, that implementing a cap, whether it be monthly or total project scope, that if the consultant hits that number, it's a return to this body
Yeah.
to discuss continued services and whether their participation is warranted and what that cost would be?
Yes. As the deeper in the process we go, I just want to make sure that we're not getting ahead of ourselves or doing anything. Since we don't have this an item necessarily routinely that we're having to spend.
All right, thank you, Erin. Yeah. Chris?
So from a cost perspective, I'm really not as concerned about cost because I want to make sure we do it right. So if it costs a certain amount to get it done, let's get it done. The biggest thing for me as a question, Robert, is the process for who's going to make decisions in this and who's included in that decision-making process. I mean, I know that we have an outstanding board, but I don't know that any of us have any fire experience at all. And the people who've been running this forever need to be absolutely included and should be heavily involved at the table in establishing this. Just feeling, and is that kind of what you're looking at since I wasn't in the first meeting?
I would take direction. Normally we work with village manager, city administrator, whatever form of government there is as our primary contact in the process to know what needs to come back to the village board for ultimate decision. But this can't be done without input from the fire department and involvement because there is some pretty technical work that needs to be done that we need assistance from the staff that's there. So it would have to be a combination of involvement at all levels.
I'd add, Chris, that I'd add, Chris, that Niall and Kristen, in giving direction to me and talking with Robert, were absolutely clear that the consultant needed to make note of recognizing the history of the volunteer fire department and recognizing the desire for it to be sustained and maintained to the greatest extent possible. So to the extent that that involves and should involve members of the department in the process of evaluating and reviewing and engaging, I think that's perfect and what's expected.
Okay, thank you.
Joe?
I would agree with what's been said so far. On page 5 of the proposal, you talk about the blended hourly rate, and I just want to confirm that that's for budgeting purposes, but the actual billing will be at, I guess, whatever the appropriate individual's rate is. Okay.
Correct. Yep, that's for presentation purposes, or rather than give you a long list of different rates.
Perfect. Thank you.
Niall, I'll come back to you last if you don't mind. Jack?
I guess one of the questions that I've got, and this is probably before the proposal, is as we form our own fire department, have we I'm assuming that we're talking to Westport and, the other folks as well as to how this comes together. Is this going to be just a Waunakee and then we bill for services, or I'm just trying to get my arms around it because I haven't been part of the process.
Yeah, I'm willing to let Brian or Robert jump in. I do know that the process to withdraw from the operating agreement in fact requires collaboration with the other municipalities. It ends up being a collaborative process, whether the other players in the agreement wish for it to happen or not. So that's built in and in fact required. So, and I think Robert's addressed in the proposal the elements of intergovernmental collaboration. I will share as an aside that the town of Westport did conduct they received an innovation grant to perform a study of fire service needs and funding and organization. I haven't seen the results of that report. It may not be actually done yet, but I'm aware that they did hire a firm to assist them in evaluating the best approach to fire service delivery as well. So, perhaps in fact, our effort here lines up well with their effort. I hope is a possibility, and we can all try to pursue the best for our collective communities. What did you want to jump in with, Brian?
Let Robert
Oh,
go first.
okay.
There's definitely a process laid out in the agreement that requires conversation and starts with valuing of assets and then coming up with a process to purchase them back in essence. But my expectation is that I believe it's going to be right around 70% of the assets will belong to the village of Waunakee. So that'll be a significant equipment and vehicles and things that you'll take on. But go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's too early to tell exactly what's going to happen. If assuming the village withdraws, theoretically, the remaining members can continue with the district. My understanding is that might be difficult from a financial perspective. If you assume that the village withdraws and then the other communities are going to be looking for service, and it may be that they contract with the village of Waunakee. It may be that they contract with another fire district or another municipality, and it's too early in the process to know exactly where that's going to land. My understanding from previous presentations before the village board, though, is if ultimately you end up in a scenario where it's just the village of Waunakee, and you don't have a contract with another municipality, from a financial perspective, it still makes sense based on the numbers that were shared at previous meetings for that to happen. In other words, it may be the case that it's just the village of Waunakee and you're not contracting with another town, and that still would put you in a better position financially than where the village is right now. At least that's my understanding of some of the presentations.
Thank you.
Sam?
I'm in concurrence with what everybody else has stated. I'm inclined to move forward. But since it has started up again and I have the floor here, I just want to state once again, this is not a partisan issue. There are not partisan motivations behind this. So I just want to make that perfectly clear for the folks watching, that has never been the case with this process at all. Just because other places in this county are going through similar conversations, that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're doing here.
Thank you, Sam. And Nyla?
Okay, first of all, I feel that working with McMahon Associates would be the best way to go because they already have the background with the current fire department that we have. They also have worked with Waunakee closely, and that will save us time. Otherwise, if another company comes in, they're starting from scratch, and it would slow the process down. One of the things that I have focused on, and the reason I continue wanting to be on the fire committee, is because I want continued recruitment of volunteers, to continue training the volunteers we have, to maintain the volunteers we have. You can have a volunteer body, but if they're not being trained and they aren't given a reason to stay, they will not stay. And we need our volunteers. You guys have done an excellent job for generations. Many of you, I don't know, 3, 4 generations of your family have been part of the fire department. History is important. And I will do everything I can to maintain the workforce that we have. I appreciate everything that the fire department has done and that the work that you do. I guess that's it.
Thank you all for the comments. Do you have anything else that anyone would like to add? Any additional? Yes.
I just have one other question, just to confirm if we start down this road or we're going down this road, if we see something that, hey, we just don't like, we still are setting up the commission,
The commission or the separate department?
the separate department.
Yeah, we can, it's my understanding, Brian and Todd, we can turn back if we get to a point where we're like, this is no longer a good decision for us.
Theoretically, I mean, I think since the notice has already been provided, the other members would have to agree with that. But yeah, I mean, I would say this is the first, well, you've already taken a few of the first steps, so it's a long process. This is some of those steps along with it. But I think to echo what Todd said, I mean, from a legal perspective, there's probably not that many pitfalls. I mean, essentially there's an agreement that talks about how you get out of the district and then you set up a village department. But fire departments are so unique in what they do and how they need to do it. And especially when you consider the volunteer aspect of it. I mean, think about the other departments that you have. You might have some volunteer interns, but the vast majority of the people who perform the work are, paid employees. And so I think you need to the extent that you're going to go down this path and you've already started it, you really want to get an expert in to help you with it. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Any other questions, Jack? Or go to Nyla?
Yeah, I have one other comment to go off of what Sam said. I've been on the fire commission for 5.5 years now. And from my very first meeting, I was being told that by the commission or by the board chair at the time, that the county and the state is going through a lot of transition and it's getting more and more expensive, and that we needed to look at, what to do. And it's taken 5.5 years for us to do what we need to do. And I just feel that we need to work on this and find solutions so that we can provide the safety, not only for the residents of Waunakee and the businesses, but also for the members of the fire department.
Any other comments or questions?
Kristen, just one. I just want to share that if the board does decide to go this way, in the role that I'll play as administrator, I really want to pledge that my role is going to be one of coordination. This is absolutely an important community and an important village board policy decision. So if there is ever any sense that policy is being pushed out of my office to influence the process, I would appreciate anyone to call me on that. I just want to pledge to really pursue this in my role as coordinator. And I do hope to bring as many people together in decision-making as possible in that role.
Thank you. Chris?
So I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but since he's here, does Chief McWilliams, would it be appropriate for him to make any comments in regards to this?
Would you like to?
If you'd like to, make any comments about what we're talking about tonight, as far as a perspective from the fire?
Yeah.
And if you don't, that's okay. I just want to give you that opportunity.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. So I guess just from our standpoint, I mean, as long as we're involved, I mean, like you guys have stated, we've had multiple generations, come before you and keep what we got going over there. I guess my big push would be to hopefully work with these other municipalities as just outside the dog park. Hellenbrand Road, we can see it, but if we can't help them, that hurts us.
Yeah.
So I guess for you guys, work with them as much as you can. But thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. With that, any other comments or questions? Right, seeing none, I would like to make a motion to move to authorize the village administrator to execute a contract with McMahon Associates Incorporated for fire management council services.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call to question. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you, Chief McWilliams, for your comments tonight. All right. Next item on the agenda, page 102, discuss and take action on community development department structure and staffing. That's to Lauren. Oh, that's to Jared. All right.
Good evening. So with our resignation earlier this month of our senior planner GIS manager, we obviously have a vacancy that we need to address. And anytime there's a vacancy, we take the opportunity to evaluate what are the needs and opportunities of that department. And so with that, we have two different proposals here for you tonight for consideration. Well, more specifically, one proposal, two positions. The first position would be a GIS and planning specialist. This would most directly replace the senior planner GIS manager position. So this would be a more entry-level position that would focus primarily on GIS functions, supporting all the departments in the village, including Waunakee Utilities. And there would also be some planning elements to this position to help support Lauren and her role in conjunction with our planning consultant who's with us currently as well. So had to do some research here for positions, found some comparable positions in the public sector. Admittedly, there aren't really a ton of these yet, but it does seem to be a growing area. The pay bands were all pretty consistent. The full ranges going from 50,000 to 80,000. I'm talking minimum to maximum here. So when we look at our own wage scale, we found that grade H10 is probably the closest. And the specific numbers and details are in the memo. I can go into it if you want. And so we also have attached this the proposed job description for this. If you approve it tonight, we'll begin the recruitment immediately. The second position would be the community development support specialist. With this role would be so we used to have our community development and public works office manager who retired earlier this year. This position would more kind of replace those functions. Now for this one, what we're proposing is a transition within the organization. So the executive assistant who's currently in the administration department has been largely assuming a lot of the responsibilities of this position since then. And during that time, she's definitely demonstrated an aptitude and a desire to continue doing those. And so we're proposing to essentially move her into this new role, promote her to this new position, which would include a move up on our pay scale from grade H9 to H10, moving her to where the former employee was located on the pay scale to match that. So with that, net budget impact here, the difference between the two positions, the senior planner and the GIS position, pretty significant because this new position would be several grades below that one. So we're looking at in wages and FICA a savings annually anywhere from about $33,000 to $44,000 a year. And then, but some of that obviously would be offset by the promotion of the other employee going from grade H9 to H10. That would be about an $8,000 increase net to wages, WRS, and FICA. And really that's about it here. As far as the executive assistant position would go, if approved, we'll address that later. We're potentially going to be, we're going to explore that in the meantime and maybe come to you with a proposal in the 2026 budget to address those functions. So happy to answer any questions. I would say if you have any questions about like the job duties and how they fit into the bigger picture, Lauren and Todd are your people. I'm obviously happy to help or talk more about the job like descriptions and the recruitment and stuff like that. So
Thank you.
Yep.
So let's start with questions, and Joe, let's start with you and work clockwise.
Really, the only thing that I've got, I just want to clarify that the GIS position is really one that is focused on data rather than, I guess, IT type things. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, this is definitely gonna be more of this is gonna have a community development focus pretty heavily. This is not like an IT position.
Yeah.
This is more of a data entry and mapping person who's gonna really support primarily the community development department, but also our utilities and our public works.
Perfect.
Our research showed, sort of taught us that a position titled enterprise manager is a type that builds the system and the infrastructure.
Yep.
This very specifically is not that. Frankly, that would be an unaffordable position for us due to the expertise needed. We do want someone who's going to dig into the data and crunch that.
That was precisely why I was asking, because I'm thinking if there was an IT component to this, we may need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, well, and I can add that enterprise functions, we are supported by WPPI, who have a several member GIS department, and we do piggyback and collaborate with them on some of the enterprise functions.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right, Chris.
I think it's all about efficiency, and I think we're creating that with this. So I'm supportive.
Great, Aaron.
Yeah, I think this is a good change adjustment. I appreciate that when we have transitional periods with staff, we use them to take inventory of the village's needs and not just automatically fill the same position. I hope we find a great applicant for this new one. I'm excited. I think the last one trains and collaborates with other staff on GIS applications. I think hopefully having someone that maybe can open other departments to be an asset to them too. And I think that is great capability we're continuing to have in-house. And I think the promotion and change over with the executive assistant position is incredibly deserved and will be a great continuation of the work and projects going on.
Thank you. Sam.
No, back a couple years ago, we had actually envisioned this coming budget year creating a position like this anyway. So we took a bit of a windy road to get there, but we ended up in the same place anyway.
Excellent. Jack.
I support the position.
Right,
and,
Nyla.
direction.
Yeah, I agree with Sam. We kind of took a windy road, but we made our way a little early and that's fine. Sounds good to me.
Right, I'm also supportive. I'm excited to see the executive assistant get to take on these new duties and continue to excel. So with that, do we have anybody that would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to change the senior planner GIS manager position to GIS and planning analyst position as presented effective July 22nd, 2025, and to change the position of community development and public works office manager, community development support specialist, and promote the current executive assistant to step 7 of that position effective immediately.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion?
One note, that was all correct except the title. I know there were a couple discrepancies here, but it's GIS and planning specialist, not analyst, just for motion clarity.
I'll make that change.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, page 111, discuss and take action on a resolution releasing a plat restriction for property at 1112 Quinn Drive in the village. And this is to you, Lauren.
Yep.
Thanks.
So the village received a request from the property owners at 1112 Quinn Drive to release a plat restriction on their property that restricts vehicular access. Most of the property along Quinn Drive. This is as part of the Arboretum Village plat, which is included in the agenda packet. So the property owner is stating that there are some slope kind of conditions at their property that make it difficult to build a driveway as planned, which would be kind of a joint driveway with the neighboring property, and instead would like to move the driveway 25 feet to the west. But unfortunately, the plat currently does not allow a driveway access there. So they're requesting a release of that restriction in order to move the driveway. The Plan Commission reviewed this last week at their meeting and recommended approval. happy to answer any questions about this item.
All right, thank you very much, Lauren. Let's open it up for questions, and Sam, can we start with you?
Don't have any concerns. I know that, there were concerns that were expressed about perhaps a precedent with this, but this is the last lot in the neighborhood that's like that. There's clear reason for why the change should be made based on that, so I have no problem with it.
All right, Jack.
I have no problems with making the change as presented.
Nyla.
I would just really like to understand, I understand that it's very difficult to do what needs to be done. But what I don't understand, and it may have nothing to do with the property owners now, is with all the professionals, when you develop a property and then you plat it off, and all the professional people, the engineers, the architects, everybody, how it wasn't realized that this was an issue. Anyone have an answer?
Can we,
I do.
can we allow, yeah, yeah, please.
Yeah, he's the requester.
Oh,
And
perfect.
I think, looks like Penny is on remotely if you wanted her to participate.
And if you don't mind standing behind the podium and making sure the mic is on, it'll be green when it's on. That way those at home can hear you.
Oh, Penny.
Well, this is the joint easement, joint driveway. So when we were laying out and designing our home and everything, we got together with Dan Paulson, who's a surveyor.
Can we have you, we'll be able to see it, but if you don't mind, the people at home won't be able to hear unless you're at the podium. Or do you have
We
a
have a
handheld?
We have a remote
you.
handheld, so you can stand there.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, there you go.
Appreciate it.
So, Penny, my wife and myself.
Still gotta stand behind the podium.
Sister.
He's got the mic.
Sister Susan sitting over here are the owners of the lot, and we're all gonna reside there. So when we were designing our duplex, we discovered that we discovered that the neighbors are actually built almost a foot high. Their foundation wall is almost a foot high. And then along with that, they decided they wanted a zero entrance into their house from the garage. So they raised the driveway and the slab considerably to make that happen. So now when we try to bring our driveway out this way and come down, the slope is going to be more than 12%, which I believe 12% is the maximum that Waunakee will allow. So we decided to move the garage over farther, and then we could drop this foundation down where that side of the duplex is and put a higher foundation wall around it and everything to shed the water and everything. And then that'll make the driveway work coming out further down Quinn Drive.
Thank you. I was just wondering how this happened and you
Yeah,
answered
no,
that. Thank you.
I understand, you weren't here for the plan commission meeting and everything, so.
Joe?
I'm not thrilled with doing it, but I don't see that there's a whole lot of other options, so.
Chris?
It was last in the group here, and so sometimes things happen that shouldn't have probably happened, but they did, and it makes sense for us to allow this.
Aaron?
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a tricky precedent question, but I think it's the reality if we're trying to put our rules and regulations on the soil and the natural environment and just how things happen sometimes. So I appreciate all the staff's effort and consultants trying to make this work, and excited to have you in Waunakee.
Do we have any other comments? Any other questions? Anything from staff?
I'd move to approve a resolution releasing a plat restriction for property at 1112 Quinn Drive.
I'll second.
Right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
you. Thank you for being here tonight. Next up, discuss and take action on a potential purchase of property at 105 East 2nd Street.
Is this me?
I'm forward
I'm
to
catch-
the
I'm
page.
catching up,
Yeah.
multitasking. Here we
Page
go.
123. Yes. So this is to you, Todd.
Yeah, so the board has had this item before it several times, and a couple times we've gone into closed session. I'm not suggesting that today because really not wanting to talk about a purchase price or pursuing a purchase at this point. Rather, I want to talk about whether you as a board want to participate in participate with the owner of their property on completing a fair market appraisal of the site. I brought that idea to the owner because I think one of a few questions the board had was, we as being stewards of the taxpayer dollar want to make sure that if we do pursue purchase of the property, we would only wish to pursue it for a fair market valued price. I think what we've been working off of thus far has been the assessed value, which doesn't always reflect current market conditions or market price for the property. So what I'm asking, and the property owner is willing to participate 50-50 in an appraisal with us. It's about a $3,000 total expense. And the question is whether you'd like to entertain that and participate, and then use that information for next step in decision making.
All right. Thank you. So with that, let's open it up for discussion. Nyla, can I start with you?
I guess we don't know if we want the property or not until we know what it costs. I still have a difficult time thinking the village should get into purchasing this property because of the costs of whatever we do with it. But I guess I can support sharing the expense to get a estimate.
And let's ping pong. Joe.
I have basically the same sort of thought. It's kind of a chicken and egg thing. I'm not thrilled with spending the money to do this, but it's not a huge amount of money either, so it'll help us know what we don't know.
Jack?
Yeah, I guess one of the things you have to do is understand what it's gonna cost, but I guess, before we do that, it's what are we actually gonna do? I know there's been proposals and things like that, but are we ready to act on that kind of activity? I question how serious we are about buying the property and utilizing the property. So, I'm leaning against finding the appraisal until we put it into the master plan and say, hey, let's go for it.
Chris?
I think I'm right there with Jack. I guess I would want to have a better understanding for the board when this first came in front of the board, what the allure or the reasoning was that we were going to contemplate this property to start with. So I don't know, I guess I don't know enough about that. Can that be shared with me or in open session? Maybe it was a closed session thing. I don't know.
Yeah, there are reasons why there were a few, I would say, and I think the rest of the board members jump in, be a part of this conversation. One was to have initial control of the property with eventual selection of a future owner could help us work to preserve the property, its character, and a willingness of party X to upkeep it, or in fact, bring it up to, its past glory sort of thing. So control over ownership, control over preservation of the property. The other issue relates to the land around it, the fact that it's sort of intertwined with a municipal park at Reeve Park there. This property shares parts of the parking lot. In fact, the access onto the public parking lot is through an easement on the private property that is part of this property. So there are elements of the parcel that are sort of messy configuration in terms of lot lines. So another interest would be to clean those up. Third interest would be to address elements of the property that we may feel are blighted on the exterior, There's some kind of lean-to components, some former horse barns on the backside of the property. And one idea or concept is to clear the ways for an activated use of that space to coincide with the Reeve Park, possibly to coincide with the way that the chamber is using the new space, plaza space behind the chamber depot. So those are some of the discussion points that we pursued. It was not an interest of the village to purchase it for long-term ownership or to be a land or for another public purpose. That wasn't, I didn't hear that from the board.
That kind of jumps off what my biggest, I guess, support of this assessment would be. We are the village has the lot directly next to it and a park that is maybe a non-traditional park than what we would consider in the village, but that has had increased use, especially with the farmers market and all of the investments we've just put into that park. I think it's responsible of us to make sure that, you know, this direct neighbor property that does have great potential, if the village or group within the village wants to, direct its next chapter. I think it's just good for us to make sure we can either clean up access to that lot we just spent a lot of money on and that park, or do what we can. We talk again about the history and us wanting to honor that. We just mentioned those sentiments at the fire department and, things we can do to remain unique in our area. So I just think it's a good next step and something that when we had been discussing, we wanted to see. So it's great that they were willing to split it, and I think it'll be of mutual benefit.
Go ahead.
So I'm not saying that I'm against it. I just wanted to have a little better understanding for what the board was the initial want of this property, I guess, maybe, or thoughts on it.
I'm a strong supporter of looking into it. There's a lot that goes into, it happens in between thinking it's a good idea and finding out what it's going to cost and what's involved in temporarily owning this building. For me, at least, I'll say that it's one of our more historic buildings downtown. It's kind of a part of our character. And here it is up for sale. Is it to the benefit of the community overall if we were to take ownership of it for a while, get it cleaned up, get it preserved, and then hopefully turn it over to a new entity for ownership.
So one of the things I'd like to see with it then is, because of its historical nature, that if we're going to spend the money, we have some sort of fire assessment done on it too, just because of what was there, what is there. And I know when we looked at the mill spot too, that was a big deal. So I think that that's something important within what we're going to look at here.
Yeah.
We did have the inspectors review what might constitute a required fire suppression system, and that relates to its use. And really two things would force that requirement. One would be if there's something like a restaurant with cooking equipment that combustible potential, that could require suppression, or if it's being changed to residential use, that then kicks in that requirement. Either way, that may be smart to preserve a very wooden structure, which, by the way, inside is beautiful. If you've been in it, the trusses and the floorboards are really pretty special.
And I'm just saying I'd like to preserve it if it's special, and if it's at risk, I don't want that to be the case.
Sam?
Pretty much in agreement with what everybody has stated. Obviously, we've talked multiple times before about that building being a tinderbox, and if our firefighters were still here, that'd probably be the building they would be most concerned about going into at this point in town. So I don't necessarily have a problem with going ahead with the fair market value appraisal now, just so we have better grasp of information. I would say overall, we've done a good job trying to get the different pieces of information that we want so we can make a sound decision before we do anything with this property.
And Jack, did you have anything else you'd like to add? Thank you, Sam.
Well, I guess one of the things I just come back to the point that, yeah, it's a beautiful building. We're not going to hold it for a long period of time. It sounds like we're looking at cleaning it up and then selling it to somebody or putting it back on the tax rolls. I'm not sure that we're the intermediary to make that happen.
Other comments or questions? Go ahead, Chris.
I would say history does generally dictate that it's not a great thing for us to be purchasing properties. To be clear, with what we're talking about here. So that's why I was more interested in what is the purpose, for.
And
this
for what it's worth, we've been largely out of that business. The library comes to mind. That was unique. Prior to that was the Madison and Main corner, which was a difficult undertaking with bad timing involved. But I think the village has been pretty careful to be incredibly selective about that business, at least for the past 15 years or so. We haven't come suggesting this very often to the board.
Other comments? Questions?
So I'll move to authorize the village administrator to take action necessary to complete a fair market value appraisal of the property at 105 East Second Street and to share 50% in the cost of an appraisal with the property owner using TID funds.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none?
I'm gonna vote no, because, like I say, I don't know if we've got a really good plan moving forward. So.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate the explanation. I think that's good for voters.
Before you vote, Kristen, I will say, Jack, that there's a couple tandem things happening here. If we pursue the appraisal, great, that's going to be more information for you. But Lauren is also working on next steps to help the board consider what to do if we do buy it. So there's a couple tandem. We don't have that product for you quite yet. So it's sort of an element of assembling different pieces.
So once this is done, I just want to make sure that we get the appraisal done. Do we have first right of refusal if somebody else wants to buy it right away?
We don't. I've requested it of the owner. I've asked whether they'd be willing to consider an option on the property or a right of first refusal.
So can we put in that we would get our $1,500 back if they use that appraisal to sell this property?
If someone else purchases it.
Otherwise, we're paying for half an appraisal for somebody else.
Probably have to have some sort of we need a development agreement of some sort.
Just an agreement that would say, presumably if you're the property owner, you say, I agree to that, but I could put a time frame on it.
Yeah.
In other words, if I get the appraisal and I sell it within 3 months, that's fine. If I get the appraisal and I sell it 3 years from now, probably not, getting the money back.
Can I throw an angle into this? Perhaps an agreement that if someone else buys it and we're out, that we'll get our money back. On the flip side, if we do end up deciding to make the purchase, would you want to consider the other side of the coin and reimbursing them for their half in order to get the other? That might be a reasonable approach.
Would that fall under?
Well, right now you guys have a motion and a second is my understanding on this. So if you're going to amend it, this one's complicated enough that you're going to need somebody to make an amendment to the motion.
So I would make the amendment to, if they're selling it to somebody else within the first 6 months, that they would be reimbursing us $1,500.
Second.
All right. So we vote on the amendment first.
Well, you're gonna have a discussion on the amendment, but then yes, you would vote on the amendment first.
So any discussion on the amendment?
I like it.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I will also just reiterate, since we're talking about the future uses, one of the things that we had talked about the last time we discussed this property was kind of conversations with some of the future plans and some of the adjacent property owners. So if we could kind of have some of that information next time we discuss this, that would be great.
All right, so let's vote on the amendment unless there's further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Now to the main amended motion. Any discussion on the amended motion? No? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Nay.
All right, thank you. Opposed, nay, abstentions, none? Good, thank you. All right, so motion carries. Next item on the agenda, discuss and take action on a resolution authorizing participation in the preparation of a cooperative plan pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 66.0307.
So I would say that this resolution is really just administrative in nature. As I think we've had discussions in open session and in closed session at board meetings, we've obviously met with Westport in regard to the petition for incorporation that they had executed and is currently before the circuit court and soon to be before the Incorporation Review Board. As part of those discussions that have also included Middleton and DeForest and Madison, essentially it was determined that the best path forward, if we're going to get an agreement whether it's among two of the communities or all five of them, is to seek a cooperative plan under the statutory procedure. And so while you don't execute the plan first, you essentially, there's steps in the process. The first step is effectively authorizing this resolution. This resolution does not bind you to agree to anything. All it says is that we are willing to participate in the cooperative plan process under the statutes. That would be consistent with the discussions that we've had with Westport and the other communities to date. And so, I mean, I would recommend moving forward with the resolution and certainly willing to answer any questions you might have.
All right. All right, with that, do we have any questions? Aaron?
No, not at this time.
Sam? Chris?
Nope.
Jack?
Nope.
Joe?
Nope.
Nyla?
Makes sense to me.
All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing participation in the preparation of a cooperative plan pursuant to Wisconsin statute 66.0307.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, and next item on the agenda then is discuss and take action on negotiating a cooperative plan between the town of Westport, cities of Madison and Middleton, and the villages of DeForest and Waunakee. And do we want to talk about this before I read the statement?
I don't really think that there's any update. I mean, I just want to confirm that I don't anticipate us taking any action either. I mean, obviously, we're going to participate in the cooperative plan process. I can let you know that assuming all the communities also adopt the same resolution, there is a public hearing process. So that would come up later. I do think, though, that we have had some positive discussions with Westport as it deals with potential agreement between Waunakee and Westport. And so we would be going into closed session to talk about possible terms and conditions that would be included in a cooperative plan related to mainly boundaries, I would say.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any comments on the issue before we contemplate going into closed session? No, seeing none.
I would just share that included in closed session is going to be a variety of staff. I've assembled a team for y'all.
The
to help with
Avengers.
Evaluation and thoughtfulness here. We've got several team members, Tim, Bill, Lauren, and Aaron. Aaron's not at village board meetings too often, so welcome, Aaron. And we've got Cody Esposito, our engineer from Strand, and then Trisha Brown, who you know, and Kate Crowley, who you probably also know, who are now working together in some economic development consulting roles. And they've come in to support us. And then Tim Semin is here as well, who's our contract planner.
All right. The Avengers for sure. All right,
Yeah,
here we go. This is
You're
awesome.
outnumbered.
Yeah. So the village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.85 LE or 1E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. So with that, do we have a motion to go to closed session?
So moved. Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Nyla Fry,
Yes.
Kristen Rungy,
Yes?
Aaron Moran,
Yes.
Sam Kaufman.
Yes.
Chris Zellner.
Yes.
Joe Zisselsberger,
Yes.
Jack Heineman.
Yes.
All right. It is unanimous. We will go into closed session at 7:42 when the room clears.
Okay.
And when